Hello, everybody. This is Leo Brady with AMovieGuy.com. I am really excited today to be with a director who has been making films for many of decades right now. And he's really just continues to put out films that interest me, that have great character studies. He has a new film coming out by the name of Fast Charlie, starring Pierce Brosnan. This is director Phillip Noyce. Phillip, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you, Leo. Good to be here.
Yeah, so I like to start my interviews by breaking the ice and asking the person, what is a movie or a moment in your life that inspired you to become a director to make movies?
Okay, that's an easy one for me. I was an 18-year-old. I escaped from my upper middle class suburb into the inner city of Sydney.
Yep.
I'm wandering along on a Saturday, and I see an image, a psychedelic image, on a one sheet, on a poster, on a telegraph pole, and it announces underground movies. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know what underground movies are, but the word underground to an 18-year-old in 1968 is awfully enticing. I said, where is it? Because I'm going. So the next Sunday, I was at that cinema, and the movies they showed blew my mind because, we didn't have a movie industry in Australia. There was no such thing as a movie director. And suddenly I was seeing short films made by artists and thinking, wow, I could do this. And you know what? I went home. About 4 months later, I made my first movie. I haven't had any other job ever since.
Wow.
I wake up in the morning just thinking about saying action and cut. And that's what I've been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
So that one image of underground and the word underground just changed my whole life.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, it's interesting too that you bring that up, because your journey as a director has been really fascinating to me, because you make more independent films in Australia. You kind of have a lot of success with Rabbit Proof Fence, and you're making some smaller films, but then you get put on to make Patriot Games with Harrison Ford. I mean, and that's sort of a film and a scope that's so much bigger than probably what you were used to in Australia. When you worked on that project, was that like a moment for you where you just gained a lot of confidence and you were saying to yourself, no matter what the size, it doesn't matter, I'm okay making these movies?
Well, I'll tell you what Patriot Games demonstrated to me. That was the power to sell movies that Hollywood has.
Yeah.
Because they came out after 8-9 days of shooting and showed us the teaser trailer. And I'm sort of looking at this thing and thinking, wow, that's what the movie's about. It was so, the teaser that they had produced out of 1 week shooting was just so convincing.
Yeah.
It's the reason why Hollywood can convince Eskimos to buy ice.
Right.
From American cinema. The machine, the sales machine is just so efficient.
Right.
So did I have confidence? No, I didn't have any more confidence than I did in Australia, but I did know over the next 10 years that when I made a great film, they'd sell it. And when I made a not so great film, they'd sell it anyway.
Right. I mean, well, you've showed a very wide range of scope, from like smaller independent films to these major big blockbusters.
Well, the smaller independent films were for my soul and for my heart, because I did spend 5 years there in the 90s making films in Hollywood. They were all successful in their own ways. But I didn't dream about them at night. Films that I made in Australia that I would dream about.
Right.
So I went back to Australia for 10 years and sort of reinvented myself. I felt it at the time that I was on the verge of becoming an animal that I don't like, the Hollywood hack
Yeah.
director,
Yeah.
you know. And I thought, okay, it was Rabbit Proof Fence, a story of three Indigenous kids who run away from a re-education center in order to reclaim their identity. And I
Right.
thought, when I read that script, I said, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm the kid. I'm the kid who's been taken away and I'm being re-educated. And I got to get on that Qantas kangaroo flight and go home and reclaim my identity
Yeah.
and also reclaim my identity as an artist. So, yeah, I'm a split personality director. I've got these little films that I make in Australia and sometimes little films that I make in America.
Yeah.
Because Fast Charlie is not a great big studio movie.
Right.
It's a completely independent animal, an animal that is in danger of extinction at the moment
Yeah.
here in the American cinema,
Yeah.
where everything is, controlled by not just studios, but by what we call the streamers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, whether it's dealing with Jack Ryan or a movie like The Saint or even Salt, I found a lot of your films also, and this includes Fast Charlie, deal involves, excuse me, individuals who are in chaotic situations, but they're sort of isolated within their own with this singular person. Is that just a general concept that you like to focus on, how one person can deal with their trauma or, chaotic life and how they handle a certain situation?
Yeah, I mean, there's a dynamism in that sort of character that I find myself attracted to as a storyteller,
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, because you did that a little bit with Naomi Watts. I've just noticed that a lot of these films you've had just one individual character, and it really boils down to how they handle their situations, that the cards that they're dealt, right?
Yeah, and that could be my story as well.
Yeah,
I'll give you an example.
yeah,
Um, on this film, 5 days before shooting, the producers announced that the money had fallen through.
wow,
So I'm thinking, wow, what are we going to do? Will we not make the film? Will we give up? And I spoke to Richard Wenk, the writer, and I said, well, they're now telling me maybe we can make it for this amount, which was much less than we originally had.
right,
And we both decided, okay, we'll keep going.
yeah,
He said about reworking the script, changing it from a great big bloated action film
right,
down to the character study, the romance,
yeah,
and the comedy that Fast Charlie is about to hit cinemas all around the world.
right,
Um, so we had to completely change track. We had to backpedal and reinvent something,
yeah.
all to our advantage, and I think to the advantage of the audience who will enjoy this film.
Yeah, totally. I mean, well, and that's interesting that you bring that up, talking about Richard Wenk, your co-writer. I mean, how did the two of you collaborate even on this?
Oh, that guy is just a genius.
Yeah,
We know that from the three Equalizer films, where he imagines so many bizarre ways that humans deal with each other,
right.
usually resulting in death,
Yeah,
destruction.
yeah,
But he's a master of cinematic set pieces,
yeah,
and he's just wonderful with character, and he's wonderful with humor, which was such a relief for me.
yeah.
19 films. This is my 20th, and finally I get to make people laugh.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to say when you bring up making people laugh, because it is sort of this like black dark humor, but also you're working with Pierce Brosnan. Talk about bringing Pierce Brosnan on and saying to him like, "Hey, I want you to be a little bit more wittier. And we've seen him be funny and in comedies in the past, but he has to sort of blend a lot of his cool mannerisms with a little bit of a sarcastic, almost sort of approach to the job that he does. How did you convince Pierce to come onto this project and be this character of Charlie?
Well, of course, Pierce achieved great success after playing Bond.
Right.
Movie about a hitman called Matador.
Yeah.
And you know, I think he remembered fondly the travails of that character, and
right.
that's what attracted him to this story. Also, I think, you know, his past as a giant superstar playing James Bond sort of ricochets onto the character of Charlie Swift in this film, because he's a guy who's facing his own mortality, but also dreaming of starting a new life.
Right.
And you know, the baggage, the past that we feel when we look at Pierce Brosnan's performance in any movie really plays into the character of Charlie Swift.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he seems like he's a guy who he's seen a lot. Like you could take this character and turn it into a prequel, or you could work with him, but we're catching his character. That's why I think Pierce is like absolutely perfect for this role, because we're catching his character in a moment in time where he, you know, doesn't want to keep going this route because he knows
but he doesn't know where he's going.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's looking for a way out, but he doesn't know exactly how to get there.
Yeah.
And during this movie, he and the woman that becomes his accomplice both find that maybe they're headed for the same place.
Yeah.
Out of all this,
What do
in a new world together.
Right. Well, and do you consider? I mean, I looked at the list of actors that you've worked with: Denzel, Meryl Streep, Harrison Ford, Angelina Jolie. We already mentioned Naomi Watts. I mean, now Pierce Brosnan. Do you consider yourself like an actor's director? I mean, those are all collective group of people that won't just say yes to anybody and need to make sure that they're working with somebody who is a constant professional. I mean, has it always been that way for you? Is that sort of what you attribute to why you've worked with so many spectacular actors in your history?
You know, I do love actors.
Yeah.
Because they are my accomplices.
Yeah.
And nothing showed me that than the last 6 months of this horrendous actor strike that we've all had to wait on. You know, because it reminded us, our inactivity reminded us, how us directors, how absolutely dependent we are on those thespians. You know, how they carry our dreams.
Yeah.
And they are the everyman, man and woman, you know, representative of our audience.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yes, I've been lucky to work with some great actors, and hopefully I can keep doing that. But I think it's not whether I'm a good director or a bad. I think that probably actors know how much I love them.
Right. Well, my last question before I have to let you go, the one of the biggest things about this movie is it's the last film of James Caan for his career. Have you been able to sort of put into terms what that has meant to you now that this is his last film? I mean, it's such a beautiful performance from him, and you know, it's got to be a nice little moment for you to say, "Hey, this is all for Jimmy."
Yeah, I and the rest of the crew were very surprised to hear of his passing.
Yeah.
9 weeks after he finished filming with us.
Yeah.
Because there was no hint of that on the set.
Right.
He came with such enthusiasm. He hadn't worked on a film for more than a year before that.
Right.
And he was just so excited to be back in the saddle. creating yet another James Caan character.
Yeah.
Later, after he passed, and I looked at the scenes, I realized that maybe he was calling on the mortality that he might have known he was facing,
Right.
in bringing that character to life. But there was no hint of it, on the set.
Yeah.
He was a completely different, energetic James Caan to the guy that we see there,
Yeah.
captured by the camera.
Yeah. Well, he's a professional to the end. That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
Phillip Noyce, thank you so much for talking with me today. Fast Charlie will be in select theaters this weekend, Friday, December 8th. Congratulations again. This is really a great film.
Not just select theaters, but also on VOD, video on demand, particularly Apple TV.
Yeah.
So if you can't see a cinema, don't let that stop you. Just sign on to Apple and there it'll be.
Awesome. Phillip Noyce, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.